Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2007 fantasy adventure story titled Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix runs for 2 hours and 18 minutes long. It is directed by David Yates. It is produced by David Heyman and David Barron. And is there anybody on this list of credentials whose first name isn't David? Hell, I'd be even happy if you settled for a Daryl or a Daniel or a Darren. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are all good. Alright, the script was written by Michael Goldenberg. There, somebody who wasn't David. And it is based off of a novel by J.K. Rowling. Alright, the score was composed by Nicholas Hooper. The cinematography by Slawomir Idziak. And it was edited by Mark Day. And the stars of the movie are Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Helena Bonham-Carter, Robbie Coltrane, Warwick Davis, Ralph Fiennes, Michael Gambon, Brendan Gleeson, Richard Griffiths, Jason Isaacs, Gary Oldman, Alan Rickman, Fiona Shaw, Maggie Smith, Imelda Staunton, David Thewlis, and Julie Walters. After the 2005 adaptation of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the franchise was going to get darker and much more faster. Gone are the days of light-hearted magical fantasy and adventure in the Wizarding World. Now it's time for our students to start getting serious and to also start to get more and more engaged in battle. It's time now for these students to finally step up and to challenge any kind of adversity that gets in their way, mainly against the forces of evil. And the evil is starting to enter onto their territory, and it's doing it in the most malice ways possible. Harry Potter has lost his smile. The students are now also starting to become more serious-minded and more focused about their wizarding skills. After having going through 6 years of training, 6 years of learning all the tricks and all of the hexes and all of the magic spells, well, now it's time for them to put their magic to the test to see if they are able to risk their lives, risk their reputations, and maybe even to show the wizarding world that these kids really are committed and dedicated to their craft. So yes, while it does get darker and faster in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, this is also where the imagination elements bears no limits and goes beyond the boundaries by making a movie primarily aimed towards the younger age demographics, as scenes have truly become more intense. Yes, maybe the lighthearted stuff was pretty much okay with, pretty much up to the Goblet of Fire. But now that we're at Order of the Phoenix, yes, this from here on in, this franchise is going to get much darker. It's going to be more intense, and the battles are going to become more fierce. The characters have become, like I said, much more mature and more advanced in their wizardry, as the epic battles become more fierce than ever. So under the direction of David Yates, who actually did continue on with the Half-Blood Prince and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I'm not sure if he did Deathly Hallows Part 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if he took his directing skills to the rest of the other chapters in the book. The energy level is definitely exciting and unpredictable, and the pacing is at a reasonable speed, and it pays homage to the darker, grittier themes that the book is based on. So there's really a lot of step-ups to it. And it actually is believable that, by this time, you see that the characters, the students, are no longer young kids. They've all either have gotten growth spurts, deeper voices, and much more maturity in their physical as well as their intellectual integrity. Now it's time for these students to actually show their teachers what they are really made of, and they really, really do show it. Give thanks to J.K. Rowling for bringing out the most compelling story of the Harry Potter franchise yet, and don't fall victim to any elaborate, standardized plot. When it comes to the narrative structure, very little has transpired. It's definitely just sort of a pick up from where they've left off, and you know what, that's a good thing. However, Harry, played by Daniel Radcliffe, his transformation from an inquisitive, adventurous little boy has now become a scarred, emotionally distraughtful young teen after the fateful death of his friend and former classmate Cedric Diggory, played by Robert Pattinson, at the hands of the evil Tom Riddle, who of course goes by in the dark world as Lord Voldemort, played by Ralph Fiennes. Though he tries to address it out to the public spectrum at Hogwarts, no one seems to, let alone want to believe him. People think that Cedric's death was caused due to his own incompetence, or was just an anatomical accident. But only Harry knows that Cedric's death was in the hands of Lord Voldemort. And he tries to address it to the teachers, but no one wants to believe him. Not even Dumbledore. Dumbledore, too, also seems to dismiss Harry's belief that Voldemort was responsible for the death of Cedric Diggory. So while Voldemort is on the loose, Harry, with the help of his Hogwarts superior, Professor Dumbledore, played by Michael Gambon, they eventually form an army known as Dumbledore's Army to take down Voldemort and his goons. Now, even at first, too, Dumbledore didn't believe Harry, but that was actually just to conceal that he actually did believe in Harry Potter's claim. He just didn't want to tell anyone. He just wanted to keep things low profiled while the Ministry of Magic is taking consideration of having Harry Potter expelled from Hogwarts, simply because Harry knows too much, or also just doesn't want their reputation exploited. Even though just having Harry Potter expelled, well, that would just be unjustified. Under the leadership of Dolores Umbridge, played by Imelda Staunton, who is just so great in her role, she's just a person you just love to hate. Imelda Staunton's Dolores Umbridge, she was sent to take shape in improving the morals at Hogwarts. Unfortunately, she is using her powers, her control powers, to release the students of their freedoms due to her implementing authoritarian measures on them by not letting them use their magic or their spells to take down Voldemort. No, she's trying to just, suspend it because she feels that they shouldn't be used unless really needed. It's not to be used casually. The refusal to believe their students as they warn about the dangers, let alone taking responsibility, comes as nothing new. However, that has a symbolic trait of what we see in today's society, which is pretty much youth or wild-eyed youth or young, inexperienced individuals. Well, they always tend to get ignored by their superiors, and when they know that they were telling the truth, they refuse to still do really little to nothing about it. It's like when a kid is being bullied in school. They'll tell the teachers, but the teachers will just simply give them the advice, just ignore. They'll go away. You know what? When they say that, that's just their ways of saying, you're on your own, kid, and whatever happens, you'll have nobody but yourself to blame. Or you could tell them that, anything. And they'll do nothing about it. Feeling that it's not their responsibility, but your own. If nobody's going to do something about it, the best solution is you got to do it on your own without the help or consent from your superiors. Trust your own feelings, kids. Trust your own instincts. That's kind of like what the message that gets across from the kids, that if the adults don't want to do anything about it, it's time that you all learn to step up and simply, grow a pair. That's kind of like what the message comes across in this movie. And it's a good lesson to be learned too, because, Harry and the rest of the gang, this should be. Tests don't necessarily have to come in the manifestation of a piece of paper and answering a bunch of questions. No. A test can also be something more physical, more practical, especially in the wizarding world where evil is lurking and it's time for our young novice apprentice wizards to step up, take the initiative, and just deliver the goods to prove to these teachers that they are ready and they are eager and they are dedicated to their craft. And there's really not much that they could do about it. Yes, a test and an exam is not always just a paper and a pen and doing multiple choice or short answer questions. Sometimes a test just needs to come into the form of actually going out and doing something. There's your experience. There's your final exam. Going out there and proving to your superiors that you are ready to step up and take the initiative. As satisfying as it seems, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix takes our journey of the wizarding world to a new direction of the series. What really stands out is that the movie's best scenes doesn't take place at Hogwarts, but through the inner mind of Harry's emotional scarring in his psyche, where he's going through the phases of depression, self-questioning, and late adolescent evolving. But I'm sure he's not the only one who's feeling these pressures. I'm sure the other people too, the other students too, like Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley, and his sister Ginny and Luna and Tonks and the rest of the other people. Everyone is really trying to step up and prove that they are doing, and that they're not trying to like upstage their teachers. They're trying to show the teachers what they have learned all these years, and it's time for them to come into battle. And that's what their mindset is during this whole time. Sure, Harry's emotional scarring is what brings this army together to take down Voldemort. But we do get a lot more human drama in this movie than compared to the other movies going around. These inexperienced students have now gained practically enough experience, and they are willing to take on the forces of evil, even if it means to even just sacrifice their own lives. Because let's face it, Voldemort is a badass, and he will stop at nothing until a character or characters are destroyed before they have a chance to destroy him. It's definitely a turning point where one's playful curiosities manifests into a better understanding of the real world, of what it's really like, and can realize that evil characters are around and that the youth are now capable, and they themselves need to stop them when no one else is up to the task. It's such a great thing that Harry and his gang evolve into being more cautious in their surroundings, feeling that their time is now, knowing that they might pass the knowledge that one passed down to them. It's definitely a great turning point in the Harry Potter franchise, in the Wizarding World franchise. And I truly actually think J.K. Rowling knew that she couldn't do Potter forever, and definitely had to stop after the Deathly Hallows. I mean, it's sad, it sounds rightful knowing that after 7 books, she has done everything she could in the Harry Potter books. We all know that there would have to be a conclusion somewhere down the line. And I think the Order of the Phoenix is the first stop into showing that the Potter franchise is taking a new direction. Is it taking a new direction for the better or for the worse? I would like to say it's taking a big direction for the better, because, like I said, Rowling is not going to be doing Potter for the rest of her life. I believe that after she did Harry Potter, she did kind of like a prequel of the Fantastic Beasts series, which of course also would be launched into a couple of adaptations. We've seen 2 of them so far. And, now she is, proving that this is the beginning of the end of the Harry Potter franchise. There's still, 3 more chapters to go after this. We have the Half-Blooded Prince, and then we have the Deathly Hallows parts 1 and 2. So we are coming to what appears to be the evolving climax of the franchise, and I gotta say, everyone stepped up. It's such a great film. It was nice to see, how our young, formerly novice apprentice wizards have now grown up, have matured, and are really starting to get a better understanding of the world around them. And somehow this is a great movie to actually show independence, empowerment, and also that fightful spirit that we have not seen from the other previous 4 novels, whether it be The Philosopher's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, The Goblet of Fire. And even with the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter looks a lot different. He's got a haircut, he's got a little more of a chip on his shoulder, he's very embittered, because he feels pretty much guilty over Cedric Diggory's death. And he's trying to prove to his teachers and himself that he is ready to take down the forces of evil, in hopes that, he could get the respect from his superiors, and to also gain respect for his classmates, but most of all, to gain respect for himself. Like I said, all the acting was really, really well, excellent. I got to give the hats off to the cinematography for a great view, a great look into the wizarding world, a more advanced look, a much more darker atmosphere, but very, very effective. Hats off to Michael Goldenberg for writing a brilliant script with some great dialogue, taking a lot of stuff from J.K. Rowling's novel. Not everything, but pretty much moderate, to say the least. Once again, it's great that David Yates stepped up to take the directing role for there, and then he just continued on from then on. So it's good that they did not go through all these changes in directions, changes in directors. They got David Yates to do Order of the Phoenix, and he continued again with the Half-Blooded Prince and the Deathly Hallows Parts 1. I'm not sure if he did Part 2, but I do think maybe he would have if he was going to continue. Still a very, very excellent book, very, very excellent movie. And it's pretty much all I've got to say about this. I highly recommend you see Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. So therefore, if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would give Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix a 9. Really, really good movie. Highly recommend it. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Yes, I come with 3 simple ingredients. Be kind. Be courteous. And please refrain from any rude comments. Come on now, I'm not rude to anybody. I have charm. Sometimes I might sound a little ignorant at times, or may sometimes have a bit of an arrogant chip on my shoulder, but that's only just for show. I'm not like that in real life, so try to stay out of the rude comment department. And I will be back again with another movie review. So thank you so much for listening, and until next time, this is Eric Correct Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.